Hey everyone, Sean here, and today in this video I wanted to sit down and talk about the news of at least 18 countries of Europe asking for heavy regulation on loot boxes, or pretty much the gacha mechanics that we've seen so much as of late, or at least over the years, from mobile games to, well, even console games, unfortunately, especially with the sports games such as FIFA, Madden, etc., etc. So there was research that was being done over time by the Norwegian Consumer Council, and they found games like FIFA 2022, funny enough, and also funny enough, raised Shadow Legends, which is another mobile game that has been heavily promoted on YouTube. It's kind of like a meme for a lot of people on YouTube because it's heavily promoted by a lot of YouTubers, including like JonTron at some point, and someone like MTash, who I believe is still promoting it to this day. Those examples or games were used as examples, as a means to try to get the point across that, well, loot boxes are, quote, exploitive and predatory. That was a quote from reported from Eurogamer, at least. That's where I got the article from. And I talked about this already on the podcast, but I just want to make this a video form on this single subject because this channel has featured gacha games at some point, and I was pretty much into it, money and all. It's not to say that I regret any of that, because I did it for the thrill, and I won't deny that I was, to some extent at least, addicted to sort of that thrill. And it doesn't really necessarily pertains to like the goal of trying to get that character. It's just like it's just like gambling 101. You're doing it for the thrill, the risk, and that's what it is. It's a gamble, right? That's what gambling is. It's all about the risk. It's like a 101 textbook example of why people like such as myself were doing it. And of course, I did it for the also for the content, or at least I got content out of it. And I did, I try to make the most of it from those situations. And I got some views and stuff like that, and which is pretty fun and all. But over time, though, as you get older, at least to me anyway, perspectives start to change, and I kind of just stopped doing so. At some point during like the summer, I was in Vegas with friends for Evo, the fighting game tournament, and it was kind of like a tradition for me, at least a personal tradition of mine, because I'm in Vegas. I'm gonna go wild with the gambling stuff, and that also included gacha, particularly with Fate Grand Order, or Fate Go, FGO. And I spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to kind of meme on it, right? Or it was for the thrill. It's kind of like a dare for myself, if you will. And luckily I did get the characters I wanted. The summer banners and all that stuff, the 5-star characters that I wanted, and I had pretty much the good end of the stick when it came to that. It wasn't like where I spend my budget and then, oh, I didn't get the character I wanted, so I'm gonna spend more, and overspending the budget and stuff like that. I was always within the budget. I was always within the control, and so wasn't the worst kind of addiction, I guess you can say, but it was in a sense that I did spend my budget for gacha, rather than spending it on like other things that could have been more fulfilling, other fulfilling luxuries, if you will, if that makes sense. But you know what, I mean, it is what it is in the past, and I've like pretty much like gone over for the at this point. It's really, in comparison to before, has gone mild. The last time I spent money for gacha, like straight gacha, is for Genshin Impact, and I've only spent $50 on it just for the crystals or whatever. And that's only when the top up bonus is around. I definitely would not like to spend money when I don't have it. I don't have that bonus. So I'm trying to really get the most out of what I get or what I buy. So um, it there so there is that sense still that is still there, I guess, but it is way better than in comparison. But unfortunately, I do know people where they still spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars trying to get that character to be like the maximum potential or whatever. In this case, in Genshin, for example, max constellations, or when it comes to FGO, max noble phantasm or whatever, which it all results in a lot of money being spent and risking that in a gamble, and so mechanics such as that really bring out the predatory sides of these video games. It's becoming out of control to the point where even the most basic of gameplay sort of aspects are pretty much like locked behind these really nasty gotchas, nasty surprise mechanics, as EA put it at some point, or someone from EA put it at some point during the I think it was like some sort of court hearing or something like that, or summit hearing or whatever it was called. Somebody from the EA side decided to compare that to like the sort of the what was it called, those little like surprise balls or whatever they were called. I forget they were called, but definitely they're not the same, because if you want to make the comparison to like trading cards, yes, they do have similar aspects to them, but in trading cards, one, they're physical, two, you can just buy up the cards, just straight guarantee yourself buying the cards you want with cash, and then you can literally avoid the gotcha aspects, quote unquote, at the end of it. Not only you can still have the thrill of the gotcha or whatever, but you have the physical cards. They're pretty much your ownership, like they're under your ownership, and you can keep them forever, however long you want, in your collection. They'll always forever be there, and that's pretty much that. But when it comes to gotcha, I mean, what's really messed up about it is that not only they are so predatory to your desires of trying to get the most powerful characters / weapons to really up your game, but once that game is over, like service is over, those things that you obtained over time with money, all that money you spent on that gotcha game, man, it's all gonna go poof. I've experienced games like that, discontinuing on the mobile side of things, at least. Now, granted, I didn't spend money on those ones for sure. Like the one of the Tales games, a lot of the Tales of mobile games tend to discontinue quite often. So I guess it's so that the company can just focus on these fewer Tales games, which yes, that does make sense from a business perspective, but from a consumer perspective, that's pretty nasty, especially for those who are vulnerable to that sort of predatory practice, and they are just so tempted to spend more money, try to be the best, and so it's just it's all the more scary when those games go away. Now, maybe there are a few exceptions to that, like games like Fate Grand Order could be around for a very long time. But who knows? Games like Genshin Impact, man, with the future being so kind of shaky, who knows how long a game like that can last? With where the game is going, and if they don't really like change things up for the sake of things, a lot of players are going to drop off, and then eventually, Hoyoverse is just going to be like, oh well, they can just shut off the game just like that, and then just go work on Star Rail or one of the other games that they have been developing as well, which is going to be, I think, is going to be another gotcha game. But they, from the business side of things, they don't care, because they already made their money. They've already reached that objective, which is to make money, and they've already done that several times over, thanks to the players of, Genshin Impact, for example. So it's just so there's a lot of messed up things about it, and I'm sorry I'm like like dancing around the whole thing, but I just wanted to like paint myself where I come from and why what I think of it and what I think of gacha games nowadays in comparison to before. Again, yes, I was a part of that whole gacha phenomenon, but luckily I've been able to grow out of it for the most part, and I don't really have the need to really dump any more money in games like FGO anymore. The only thing I do is just dump money into the guarantee stuff like the battle pass, for example. I know what I'm getting, so I'm going to put in money into that. So therefore, it enhances my. I know it will enhance my gameplay experience one way or the other when it comes to Genshin Impact. For example, with the battle pass, getting more materials or money, and also a weapon out of it too. Every battle pass, and it's been treating me pretty well. I mean, I guess it depends on how you feel about Genshin Impact as of right now. But for me, that's always been a much healthier set of mind. Because it's guaranteed. You know what you're getting, and and you're not really spending a lot of money per month, so to say. I mean, yes, it'll add up over time, but it definitely is a lot more healthy than something like, oh, every 2 weeks or whatever, whenever a banner comes out, people just spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars like it's nothing, rather than putting that into something else that could help them out in the future. And yet they're putting all that money into a game that could go away the next day. You never know, and all that's gonna go poof, and it's like all for nothing unless you're a content creator and you're made money out of all those gacha videos or whatever, right? Like myself, now I'm not gonna say that I made money out of it, but I definitely got something back, which is some viewership and the sort of the thrill, and also like just I don't know, seeing the interactions and reactions, I guess you can say, when it comes to some of my gacha poll videos or whatever you want to call it, and that's just kind of how it goes. It really depends on your situation, where you come from, who you are, and how you sort of are able to handle these sort of situations. And so, when it comes to this whole thing, I know I danced around the topic, and I apologize for that, but my whole take on this whole thing with the European stuff, I think it's going to be for the best, honestly. It will send a message, if this carries through, of course, this will send a message throughout other countries like, hey, we should probably follow suit as well. And more countries with that are going to be banning more of these mechanics over time. And it is definitely a matter of how they execute it as well. I mean, like, it could be video games where they do have some RNG aspects, but overall not harmful. And yet, because in their eyes, oh, RNG is bad, and so they're gonna go super like hardcore and ban those games just because it has a remote sense of RNG, which is, I guess, would be similar to gacha, and therefore it does not follow these regulations and stuff like that. If it goes too far, then obviously it sucks, and that's a bad way to put it, or a bad way to go about it. But for overall, it is for the greater good when it comes to, in my opinion, in a way, and that is coming from me. I think it is for the greater good because these gacha mechanics, I think that it's time that it's for the best that they go. I mean, one can say that, oh well, I'm doing my part to control my budget and my money and all that stuff, and I like the RNG aspects of it. The slot machine, stuff like that. It is fun, and I get it. There's the thrill for it, right? And it does make for a entertaining video or moment, or just, I don't know, any sort of entertainment. But I definitely can live without it. It's not healthy. I mean, there's too many stories of people just spending thousands and thousands of dollars and not getting what they want, and they're kind of left in the dust financially, and that happens to the mentally vulnerable, or sort of like the mentally incapable, and children, of course. And that's a really dangerous thing about it too, is that there's no regulation when it comes to those children-esque games, and children are exposed to these elements early on, and so they can't really like come to a an actual like independent decision as to how they interpret these things, whether they're bad or not for them, and so they just do it because it's, it really digs into that sort of dopamine and the serotonin or whatever, and it really messes them up even more than the adults. So it really does dangerous things to those kind of gamers and players and anyone else who are exposed to those elements. And even just like classic gambling, man, there's been stories of people losing their houses and their families abandoning them because you just can't control their money or themselves, and they're just irresponsible for them. But that addiction, man, it really can get the best of the people you love or you care for, one way or the other, and it can be a really bad thing. So while there is regulation for gambling, there needs to be some the same thing pretty much for these mechanics, through and through. I think, in my opinion, it's very dangerous. There's regulation in regular gambling, traditional gambling, for a reason, and there needs to be that happening with this stuff too. So for me, yeah, I actually do agree that there needs to be some sort of regulation, and if they just straight up ban loot boxes, then that's just what it is. Or at least, I mean, I don't think a label on a box is really going to help things. I really think there needs to be more than that. I think there actually needs to be some sort of regulation somehow, if not just a straight up ban on loot boxes. So with that in mind, what's going to happen to those sort of games too, right? Who really heavily rely on such gotcha mechanics. There are games that have been known for that, and they're steering away from it. Like Overwatch 2, they're gonna do the battle pass now instead of just loot boxes, so you can get your stuff just by playing the game. Now, do you have to play the game a lot? Sure, but it's there. The opportunity is there, I think, and I think that's I think it is a better approach, but it is a matter of how they do the battle pass as well, because that also can be kind of predatory as well. But that really depends on how Blizzard is going to carry on about it. But nonetheless, though, they are moving away from the traditional loot box, no less. So yeah, I think it really, really is for the best. Now, a friend of mine in a podcast, when we were talking about this, I don't know if what exact point he was trying to get at. He may have not gotten the whole point of the topic, but he kind of just said, well, it's your money, and if you want to spend it on gacha, I don't care. But I don't think it really is about the money or the choice or whatever. I think these gacha mechanics are really, really, really taking over a lot of the games that we really used to know and love, including all the console games too. And now, games like Diablo Immortal have been the new hotness when it comes to that, the sort of the angry rants and stuff like that of microtransactions and such. These things have been just raping over the such games like that, and including, of course, FIFA, Madden, and of course in the past we've had games like Battlefront 2 kind of being like the prime example of why loot boxes suck in those games like that. I think it really is worth just not having them overall, and that does present another question as to what'll also happen with the content creators who have been relying on those aspects of the gameplay, I guess you can say, the gacha mechanics to make those videos and such. Where are they gonna go? And that does present a question like that. But it really comes down to each content creator, knowing and being aware of the consequences and risks. Which is funny because that's just a lot of what it is when it comes to online content creation. It's a risk. It's a gamble, right? People quit their jobs to try to pursue this sort of career, and it is a risk like that, and especially if you particularly cover gotcha videos, and that's what your viewers are there for. It really sucks because once that goes away, it's like, what can you do? So it does present a pretty big question for a lot of things, or it spawns a series of questions that are pretty serious for depending on where you are coming from. But yeah, man, like when it comes to those content creators, where are they gonna go? For some of them are probably fine because people find them entertaining, and no matter what game they're playing, those people are going to be following them. But for the rest of them, man, I think that's the majority are going to really drop off from those content creators, and they're probably gonna just have to get a day job, and or try to get lucky on Twitch or something like that, and try to do another thing. So that is what it is, man. A lot of things are just a gamble, and gotcha is no exception. So I'll leave it off of that. I don't want to go on too long. Before I mean, it is a pretty big topic, especially for someone like me who has dealt with gotcha stuff over the years. And luckily, I have been fortunate to say that I've grown out of it for the most part. But yeah, I mean, you know, but just like anything else, temptation may play a part, and so I'm not gonna say I'm 100% gotcha free and gotcha immune or whatever. So that's the thing, right? So, by the way, that's all I got. I mean, again, I think the regulation for gotcha stuff is needed one way or the other. I think it definitely is has been something we gamers would like to see, for loot box stuff and surprise mechanics and all that in between. Yeah, and so it definitely will spawn something from these companies. What will happen to those gacha games? Is Genshin gonna just drop from the face of the earth because of that, or is it something else? Are we not gonna see gacha mechanics less and less for mobile games, and more on battle passes, and so on and so forth? I think it definitely does spawn a bunch of more questions and more than anything. But yeah, that's all I got, and thank you very much. What do you guys think of this whole thing with Europe trying to, or at least a lot of much of Europe trying to regulate these loot boxes more and more? And so, do you think other countries are going to follow suit? And do you think the companies themselves are going to be like, man, we can't really rely on these gacha mechanics anymore in the future because more and more of these countries are going to start banning them. So it really is going to be kind of interesting to see how this all sort of plays out. So leave any related comments in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to check out my merchandise store in the comment section or the description. I'll leave a link there. I really do appreciate you guys. So this has been my Hawke Talks on the loot box stuff, the European regulation, in case that pulls through and all that stuff, and sort of the outcomes and all that and stuff in between regarding to gacha and loot boxes and all that. So thank you very much. I'll see you guys in the next video. Ciao now.